everyone. It's a pleasure having us. Join us on this episode of the Yaba Voice. And we are glad and always excited each time we call and you turn out. Again, this day is very special. This month is special because it was the International Men's Day. Now, somebody said, at least we have a day that will celebrate our men. Ooh, kudos to all our men. All right. So to every man on this call and to every man who will still join and listen to this webinar, we celebrate you. Thank you for the good works you're doing. Thank you for being a pillar. Thank you for being a champion out there. We are so blessed to have you in our world. Again, we welcome you to this month's edition of the Yaba Voice webinar. Before we run off, I'm going to invite the medical director to formally welcome us to this webinar. Over to you, Dr. Olubenga Adekile Owoye. You're welcome, sir. You're welcome, sir.
Okay.
Please,
Thank you very much, Dr. Kemi Akintoye. I hope you can hear me now.
Yes, sir. You're welcome, sir.
Yes, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone here present in this program. You are welcome to today's webinar organized by Yaba Voice. And the Yaba Voice is the social media platform of Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Yaba, Lagos. And this platform is mainly for mental health education, advocacy, and community outreach. Today's topic is healthy men in an unhealthy world. Healthy men in an unhealthy world. As we all know, there is no health without mental health. And this is because health is hinged on three tripods of physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of diseases or infirmity. In today's webinar, there are some pertinent questions to be answered. For instance, we want to know today, who is a man? What do we understand by mental health of a man? Are there mental health challenges peculiar to men at every stages of their development? It is also pertinent to note that men's mental health can be compromised by many factors, and some of which we are going to consider in this program today. And that the individual's ability to recognize early warning signs and take appropriate actions will go a long way in the promotion of mental health of this gender. So with us in the program today, we have eminent personnel and professionals in mental health. To start with, on the platform today, we have with us Reverend Olabode Daramola. Reverend Olabode Daramola is a clergyman, a licensed clinical psychologist, and a mental health advocate. He holds a bachelor degree in psychology, Masters of Science in clinical psychology, and Masters in managerial psychology from the prestigious University of Lagos. His current scope of work includes assessment, testing, training, psychotherapy, and employee assistance program. Reverend Olabode is a member of Nigerian Association of Clinical Psychologists, Nigerian Psychological Association, and American Psychological Association. Reverend Olabode is a non-stipendiary priest in the Diocese of Lagos West Anglican Communion. Also with us on this platform today is another erudite scholar and a well-known clinical psychologist. The person is Mr. Akin Gabriel, who is a licensed clinical psychologist of about 20 years experience in the field at the Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Yaba, Lagos. Currently, Akin Gabriel is an assistant director in the Department of Psychology, Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Lagos. He has passion to provide clients with individual group psychotherapy to help them facilitate social and personal adjustment to live a more meaningful and fulfilling life. Akin Gabriel is presently a doctoral student in clinical psychology at the University of Ibadan. He also has a master's in clinical psychology from the same Premier University of Ibadan and first degree in clinical psychologist is a major area of emphasis is on psychological evaluation, psychotherapy, training, and development. Apart from his regular clinic, he is also involved in on-demand intervention, training, and teaching. Mr. Akin Gabriel is a mental health advocate and a public speaker. He loves traveling, poetry, and theater. He is married with 2 children. You will agree with me that we are loaded today on this program to look at the mental health issues in men. So I want to implore you to kindly relax and listen to our mental health expert as we promise you a rewarding session of today's webinar. Over to you, Dr. Kemi Akitoyeshi. Thank you.
Thank you, Medical Director, for that arousing welcome. And I will say we are blessed with a Medical Director who is interested in the well-being of the society. And he keeps pushing this day in, day out to ensure the quality information is passed to the populace so that we can make the world a better place. I was somewhere on Tuesday and somebody said, oh, we would not like to come to Yaba Voice. And I said, no. As a matter of fact, you would not like to go to Yaba Voice because Yaba Voice is like the crazy place. But Yaba Voice is like the best place because that's the good place. You will get help if you have any distress. And what we do here is to disseminate information that help people to understand that you can have the best of health and you can enjoy maximum psychological functioning, and we keep tips. And that's what the medical director has just reiterated to us this day. And so we will kickstart this conversation. Please, if you know someone that needs to be here to enjoy this conversation today. Now, people will talk about men as if they do not need help. Oh, they'll say, men don't cry, men man up. But we understand that they go through quite a lot of things. And it's in fact affecting their functioning, overall functioning. So please, if you know someone that needs to be here, they can either join us here on the Zoom platform, or they can join the Facebook page of the Yaba Voice so that they can follow and they can listen to this information as we proceed. Now we're going to be talking about this topic, healthy men in an unhealthy world. Who is a healthy man? How do we know that somebody is healthy? Dr. Akin Gabriel.
Well, thank you so much, my dear sister, Dr. Olakemi Akintoyeshi. It's always refreshing to be here again. And yes, you are right. Yaba left is always all right. And yeah, it was Men's International Day a few days ago, and I guess we are still in that. We are still moving along that movement. So today we're talking about healthy men in an unhealthy world. So really, who is a healthy man? I'm going to look at this from a perspective, maybe a slightly different one. In as much as the WHO has emphasized that health is not only about the physical issue, there is the social as well as the mental component as well. So for me, a healthy man is somebody is a man who is actually functioning across certain lines. I look at it first of all, physically. A healthy man who is physically fit, who is physically functioning, in terms of the fact that he's free from illnesses, is free from any form of malaise. A healthy man is also someone who is not only free from this condition, but is indulging it in actions that promote healthy living, is eating well, is resting well, is exercising well, is playing well, is indulging in activities that will promote and ensure he has good health, is somebody who's not who's driving well, who's protecting his own physical integrity in terms of his health in that aspect. I will also say that a healthy man is someone who is able to initiate and maintain good relationships. Initiating relationships takes a lot of things. It involves the fact that the man must be able to discern, must be able to identify certain characteristics in other people. He must be fit enough, he must be focused enough to be able to identify the right person to interact with, to initiate a relationship with. It's also involves the fact that of the ability to be able to persevere, to be able to maintain relationship. So a healthy man is also someone who is able to initiate and maintain relationship. A healthy man is also somebody who is able to acquire skills, who is able to add to his knowledge, who is able to get knowledge, and at the same time who is also able to use this knowledge to be able to get some reward, that is, to be occupied in a particular work. So a healthy man is somebody who is able to learn. A healthy man is also somebody who is able to work. So a man, a good man, a healthy man is somebody who works and receives rewards in form of pay, salary, or maybe profits from his business. So we also talk about the fact that a healthy man is also somebody who has some spiritual functioning as well. He's able to identify the fact that he's a supreme being. We're not talking about whether he belongs to any denomination, but you understand there's a supreme being somewhere that is more or less like that he can actually reach out to. Somebody that also brings out some form of spiritual identity, as it were, where he can actually perform some spiritual service. A healthy man is also specifically somebody who has some psychological functioning. Somebody has a good idea about his own self-perception, his self-worth, his self-esteem, as well as confidence. All of these are related. So you can say that a healthy man is someone who actually who is functional across all of these five perspectives that I've discussed. Physically, who is functioning physically, relationship-wise, occupationally, spiritually, as well as psychologically. That's the way I want to look at a healthy man. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. King Gabriel. And you know, significantly, I was asking myself when he was reading out this definitions, I said, who would tick all these boxes? Is there someone out there? I didn't know if you were able to tick up all of the boxes that he had mentioned in terms of who and how the man is. Well, that's the definition that he's giving us for this webinar today. We're looking at physical, we're looking at relationship, we're looking at occupational, we're looking at spiritual functioning, we're looking at virtually every aspect of life that this individual is involved with. And we're saying this individual is able to cope, maintain relationships, function, manage stresses, and able to, be productive, which is a summary of what the World Health Organization has defined mental health to be. Now we're going to look at what are the unhealthy factors in a man's world that affects men in quotes generally. Now, what are those unhealthy factors in their world that affect them? Knowing this, maybe we'll be able to provide a solution. Over to you, Canada Marmola.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kemi Akitoye, our worthy anchor. Permit me to appreciate the leadership of the Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Yaba, and all the staffers. Thank you so much for having me on this hallowed platform yet again. I appreciate all the training that I received from the Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, which has helped to shape my career. I appreciate the medical director, Dr. Olubenga Oweye, as well as the HOD Psychological Services, Dr. Tayo Ajiro Tutu. I thank our discussant today, Mr. Akin Gabriel, who also was my teacher, and every member of the community psychology platform called Yaba Voice, I celebrate you. Thank you for doing this great job for the community. I appreciate all our senior colleagues, clients, followers, and all our listeners, and particularly the men that are out there. I wish you a happy International Men's Day. I'd like to begin by just briefly asking, who is a man? A man is an adult male human. He's only a boy before adulthood, which is age 18 in Nigeria. And a man's genome is a combination of the X chromosome from the mother and Y chromosome from the father. The male fetus, unlike the female, is dominated by androgen hormones with small amount of estrogen, and this is responsible for the physiological differences between a man and a woman. The good book makes us understand that man was created to manage, rule, dominate, to be fruitful, multiply, and indeed subdue the heart. So with all of this, we can conclude that masculinity is biologically influenced, but psychosocially constructed. A man is often defined by his accountability, responsibility, and problem-solving ability. Man is classified by his strength, his sense of control, and level of interest, or influence rather. And I can categorically let us know that no man wants to be described as being weak. Every man wants to do well at protecting his ego. So if there's any man or woman out there, the first thing I'd like you to know is that you should protect the ego of the man sitting next to you. Because when there is an incongruence between the ideal man and the real man, man falls short of societal standard. Who is the ideal man? The ideal man is what the society or people want a man to be, and the real man is who a man really is. But when there's an incongruence between this, the psychological well-being of man is greatly impacted. And if it is not properly managed, it can become much more debilitating. And that's why we speak about the unhealthy factors in a man's life. And these unhealthy factors are multifaceted. Generally in psychology will tell you it's an interplay between nature and nurture, which is heredity or the environment. But to have this discussion, we can look at it under 6 dimensions. We look at the physical dimensions of the man, which is number 1, mental, social or relational, work or finance, environmental and lifestyle, and then the emotional and psychological construct of it. When we speak about the physical health of man, it is important because a man who is standing belongs to everybody, but the one who is dying belongs to nobody. So the unhealthy factors in terms of physical nature, poor diet, high sugar or salt intake, unhealthy fat, obesity and sedentary lifestyle is common in men. Even smoking and tobacco abuse. What about excessive alcohol consumption? Men are more likely to abuse alcohol and other psychoactive substances. What about hydration or even dehydration or inadequate taking of water? There are a lot of men who wake up who don't drink or take their water. Even the weather here in Nigeria now is a bit harsh and humid, so men are encouraged to take their water. What about unmanaged chronic conditions in men? A lot of people that are living with undiagnosed, untreated, or undertreated diabetes or hypertension. And then to the mental health dimension now, which is indeed very critical in this case, stress and anxiety. 1 in 8 men have common mental health problems, such as depression and anxiety, according to the Mental Health Foundation. And then, of course, when we speak to depression, depression is more diagnosed in women because men don't talk about their mental health until it is too late. And this may explain why suicide rates are 4 times higher in men than women. You know, in the year 2020, the National Institute of Mental Health says that 1 in 10 men experience depression. And according to the Center for Disease Control, men are 3 or 4 times more likely to die by suicide. What about trauma and post-traumatic stress depression that are common in men who are involved maybe in war or security situations? Lack of emotional expression and support are some of the unhealthy factors in men. And then what about the unrealistic expectations and the pressure to conform to traditional masculinity? The good book said, a man who does not provide for his family is worse than an infidel. Men is supposed to provide shelter, food, pay the children's school fees, and do a whole lot of other things. A good number of men, are supposed to support the family in certain way. But if men are not able to do this, it is a concern for its health. And then what about the social factors that men face? Toxic relationship, abusive, even manipulative relationship. There are some men who are even codependent in their relationship. A situation where man is always supposed to give, where man is the giver, and the other gender, even the children, are supposed to be the taker. And as soon as people take what they want to take, the urgent 2K, the urgent 3K, they leave you. They forget about you. What about lack of meaningful connections and friendship? Only in September, the Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency, during their awareness, just in September, they said in the past 6 years, between 2019 and 2024, about 24,965 cases of sexual and gender-based violence were recorded in Lagos State, but only 1,108 men reported their cases. It means men would naturally not want to talk about the situation, and they look for other means of coping, which could be social media addiction and a lot of other things like that. And of course, in terms of social health, men most often do not have some form of a good social network, as it were, because men are less likely to access psychological therapies than women. What about man and his money and his work? The pressure to blow and make money is higher than it has ever been right now. So a lot of young and emerging men suffer this pressure more than their female counterparts. And that's when you see people asking the question, God, when am I going to blow? So they work long hours, they are burnt out. The year is going to an end. There are a lot of men who are trying to double their hustle to make a lot of money. And in the end, it is when one is alive and well that you can make the money you really want to make. What about our environment? Unhealthy habits in terms of gambling and excessive gaming? What about exposure to violence and even crime? And then the unstable living situation of the economy that has affected man immensely. And what about his emotional and the psychological pressures? Unhealthy coping mechanisms for men, unprocessed anger, as it were. So men will generally just engage in this escapist behavior, such as throwing themselves into their work, living separately from their wife and children. And one that we really need to pay attention to is what the Yaba syndrome has caused a lot of men. So we have had families whose mother and children are not around, and the man is left to live alone. And loneliness has become a major challenge. There are so many of these things that we can talk about, but for now, I'm sure we can learn from all of this. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. And the list seems to go on and on and on and on. And you keep wondering, what exactly is it in this world that does not even affect a man? Maybe for now, would that just naturally feel that, oh, they are just wired differently and nothing gets to them. But what you had shared with us today, looking at these unhealthy factors, we see that really they are incurable with quite a lot of challenges, and that also affects them. Now, you mentioned loneliness, maybe because of the Yaba syndrome. But my mind went to another dimension about loneliness too, especially when women goes for omega and the man is left. A man who hasn't cooked in 20 years or 30 years, all of a sudden start entering the kitchen and doing a whole lot of things. And it's a new world for them in its totality. That's a lot. That's a lot to deal with. Most times they will not talk about it, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't affect them. And so Mr. Gabriel will be talking to us about some of these negative factors again, and then we'll look at the common physical and mental issues that are associated with men. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much for that. Yes, I really want to appreciate my brother, the canon, for what he has just told us about that. But there's more. It's a men's world. We always say that very proudly. The men's world, because we believe that we can do so many things, basically, if not all things. I know the man carries quite a lot of burden, and we put ourselves under unhealthy pressures, as well as like an unhealthy lifestyle. What are some of these unhealthy things that we talked about? In addition to what has been said earlier, quite a lot of things actually. If you look at the societal norms, that are actually placed on the man, there's quite a lot of things there that could actually be stifling, and create themselves to like an albatross for men, especially in the modern days. There are so many expectations, there are so many norms, there are these expectations that this man has to carry out. But apart from the expectations, there are now roles that even we, the men ourselves, we have now adopted at that these are some of the things that we must do, or that is expected of us, because society is expecting it. We now adopt those roles and try to limit that. So one of the unhealthy factors that we can find that affect them is actually these norms as well as the roles. Some of these norms, unfortunately, is not all men that can actually carry them out. It's not everybody really, and it's not all men that can also play their roles for one reason or the other. So the norms, the traditional norms, the existing cultural norms for men, as well as rules for men, will actually provide a sort of unhealthy foundation actually for men. There are some, if you want to be more practical, and those they will say that one of the roles expected is that the man must be the sole provider. He must be the strength of the house. He must always be in front. He's seen as the head. He's seen as one that's going to take the decision. But nowadays we have quite a lot of situations that may not warrant that. In some cases, the man is about a few thousand kilometers away doing something. It could be in some remote workplaces as well, maybe an oil rig, or where is immediately not accessible. And this may not allow him to play those roles adequately. And when he's not able to play this role, a lot of things can come in that will lead to mental health issues, some form of anxiety, some depression, feelings of inadequacy, because it's not playing his role that's supposed to play at home. Meanwhile, it's in a situation where it's unavailable. It's an oil rig. It's out of circulation, for example. So societal norms and expectations actually constitute a major base for that may make men to have unhealthy lifestyle that could be that. Another one could also be personality inadequacies. Yes, all men are not the same. We all have our own personality dispositions. Some healthy, some maybe not so healthy as a result of experiences, or maybe as a result of certain things that person could also have gone through. So personality inadequacies are there. For some, their personality is actually functional, is able to get them to what they want to do, is able to get them to plan, to identify targets, to be able to strategize for these targets, to be able to do certain things as well as eventually to achieve. But for some men, unfortunately, for one reason or the other, they are unable to actually even identify. Maybe there are some intellectual deficits, for example. Maybe there are some other things, there may be some knowledge deficits that they are unable to actually identify this target, and then they have also something that could also place an unhealthy platform where men could also feel very unhealthy, very unhappy, and could also lead to mental health issues, feelings of inadequacy as well, feelings of unhappiness, sadness, and more of that. You could also lead to things we must be aware that maybe substance abuse as well as other addictions. Another unhealthy factor could also be personal goals. Personal goals of the individual. Individuals will identify certain goals for them that may be different from the expected norms that the society has placed on them. For example, I could love cooking, for example. Cooking, you will agree with me, in some cases, is not a role that is actually ascribed to the male. Maybe it's something as my own personal likeness or goal that I want. I want to be the greatest cook. I want to be, I love cooking. And I love that. I want to perform that. But when I now remember there are roles, a man that is seen cooking and in the kitchen. In fact, when your parents come visiting to your house, they say, my son, are you the one cooking for the family? I could actually cause quite a lot of uproar within the family. That could also cause some unhealthy, lead to some unhealthy situations, both physically as well as maybe as well as psychologically. Yes, the person may also feel in that, he may feel is unable to actually express his own strength. Another thing that could also cause certain things, there's regulations. Government regulations will actually make stifle the man's ambition or maybe attempt to actually play out his role. So certain regulations may be there. For example, there could be gender-based regulations, although there's a call right now for normalizing, if you can use that word, of regulations and law, so that they won't be maybe gender bias in any way. So to ask roles, a father wants to be with his children, maybe for a son who is sick at home, or maybe for a son who is graduating from nursery school on that particular day. But for certain regulations at work, he may actually be unable to fulfill this. And it could actually also lead to some unhealthy, some issues, physical as well as mental health. The opportunities that are bound to be there. The stigma that is associated with mental health is also there. The man cannot express himself, cannot express his weaknesses, cannot express how he's feeling, even his thoughts genuinely, without the fear of being ridiculed or being put to shame. What do you mean, my man, that you are feeling unhappy? How can you tell me that you are feeling sad and you don't have power to do certain things? It could actually make him feel ashamed. So the stigma on this issue could actually lead him into some health issues. What are some of these health issues that we're actually talking about specifically? It could be physical health issues. It could also have some mental health. There could also be some mental health implications. Part of the mental education basically includes things like depression. For me, it's a different game entirely. When a man is depressed, in the first instance, it takes so long for him to actually even express this the idea that he's not feeling good. He doesn't want to talk about the fact that he's unable to sleep well, he's having poor appetite, his mood is down, and maybe he's feeling lethargic. He keeps it to himself until maybe there's the thing has the symptoms have actually become almost chronic and may actually require even a bigger effort for him to get help. So the depression is there. You could actually get depressed, unhappy and sad. Like I said, that man is on a remote, as having a remote job, will actually feel bad and feel depressed because unable to attend his children's graduation, for example. Anxiety is also one of them. This one will come up especially when the man perceives that he's unable to actually meet the needs of his in performing his roles. The anxiety is there. With substance abuse is also an immediate thing amongst men. In this case, substances are used to more or less like treat negative feelings that are associated with inability to actually carry out this role or meet these roles. Either begins to use alcohol to suppress this sadness and stuff and all of that. So we have depression, anxiety, substance use. We have so many things. Part of the physical condition include things like erectile dysfunction, which is also another major issue with men. This could be as a result of a multiplicity of reasons: cardiac issue, depression, cardiac-related issues, some mood issues, but will actually now begin to manifest as in erectile dysfunction, which brings on its own massive, so many other things around. So let me stop here for now while we go on.
You understand what this is looking like? That for quite a lot of our men that looks like they're healthy or they're macho, there could be 1,001 things that can happen today. And honestly, this should open our consciousness to the fact that we need to do more as a society. So the fact that it looks all macho, the fact that it seems to put together is inside the suit and is moving on doesn't mean he's human, and he's also going through quite a lot of things. right from childhood. I was saying somewhere on Tuesday when we're talking about International Men's Day, I said, right from the moment a child or a boy child is born, the society expects certain things. Automatically, you're either not able to win the bread. What will he win? Now the society pressure is there. Depression, anxiety, and quite a whole lot of things also comes up, and that affects him. Now we're going to be looking at what are the signs of psychological distress in a man. Now he's not able to win bread. He's not able to survive. He's not able to meet his own needs. And now the scripture would say he's worse than an infidel. What are those signs that we will see in such a man? Over to you, Canon.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Akintoye. I also like to appreciate Dr. Akin Gabriel, who has said a lot about the situation we're discussing today. When a man is not able to meet up with the challenges of life, psychological distress is bound to happen. But for want of a good definition, I like to adopt a definition by Miroski and Ross, 2002, so that we really, really understand what psychological distress is about. And this refers to experience of emotional pain, discomfort, or suffering, which can manifest as anxiety, depression, or other mental health symptoms. So when the society places a lot of pressure on the man, or when the goal of a man is thwarted, such man is bound to experience some form of distress. And the key aspect of psychological distress for me is the emotional suffering that men go through. I call it psychological pain or psychological ache, as it were. Those are the kind of, when you have headache, you take analgesics, right? But when you go through psychological ache, there's no amount of analgesics that can make it go away. And then at the end of the day, you see impaired daily function. A lot of men will then wake up and they don't want to wake up. They wish the day hasn't broken because they feel there's not so much to do, or they are not even willing to do anything again. And that's why you see a lot of men who are now laid back. They sit on the bleachers. They don't want to come to the grandstand anymore because they feel that they can't cope with it. And then you see subjective experience of distress. And so these signs of psychological distress in men sometimes can be subtle, and it indeed varies, but the common indications are there. And the first sign can be emotional, which comes across as irritability and mood swings. And research has shown that some symptoms such as irritability, anger, loss of control, risk-taking behavior, and aggression were observed to be more common in men than women. We call it ìkanra. Àgbàládéjì Yorùbá wá ní àìlówó lọ́wọ́, ó máa ń sọ ní doni ìkanra. When a man does not have enough resources to take care of himself, his family, and then to be useful to the society, there's no way unnecessary anger will not come. And what about the anxiety, the worry that comes about tomorrow? Rollo May said something. He said the inability to construct a future is a major pointer for mental health challenge. So as has been said earlier, depression and then emotional numbing. Sometimes whatever you say to them, they really do. It will get to a point that the one who even speaks or acts out or talk will not withdraw. Whatever it is you say to them, they become detached. They are not answering anymore. And research has shown all of this. What about loss of interest in activities? When a man suffers from psychological distress, things that used to interest them before, they do not care about it anymore. And you can see it in the way they neglect their personal hygiene. What about substance abuse and addiction, which has been mentioned earlier? Withdraw from social interaction. They don't want to contribute. They let you win the argument. When it gets to that level, then you should pay attention. Then changes in sleep pattern. People are still awake, and you may even think that they are doing anything meaningful. But when you check, they just tell you they are there and nothing is going on in their life. Then decreased productivity and motivation. The things that will take you 30 minutes to do, you are now beginning to struggle. 1 hour, 2 hours, you are not able to achieve anything. What about the physical signs? Fatigue, exhaustion, low energy, headaches, stomach problems, other physical complaints, changes in appetite, not wanting to eat, or even when they eat, they don't eat healthy. What about the tension, the treasure, muscle pain, and sleep disturbances, as I've mentioned earlier? And in our conversation earlier, I spoke about dehydration for men. Many times people who go through psychological distress may just not sometimes not remember if they have either taken water or eating their meal. They will focus on the work, and at the end of the day, they are not getting so much out of it. You see a lot of men come down even with urinary infections, kidney stone, and kidney stones untreated can actually lead to some other things, breakdown of either the liver or the kidney, as the case may be. So I have an important message for men this afternoon. When you wake up in the morning, take your water, engage in your water therapy. Let out all those things, the impurities in your body, they just need to go out so that you can stay healthy. And then the cognitive signs are there. And that's why you need to pay attention to someone and pay attention to yourself. What are those cognitive signs? Difficulty concentrating or making decisions, inability to even make decisions. And as the father of the home, you have to make certain decisions about your family. You can't sit on the bleacher and take a back seat. But when one is psychologically distressed, nothing comes to mind. What about confusion, disorganization, or even forgetfulness? When people have to remind you everything that you need to do, it's a problem. And then sometimes men experience negative self-talk or self-blame. They tell you, oh, I will not be able to achieve this. I'm not going to be able to do this. And then they blame themselves. And it could be both ways. There are some men who blame themselves for all the issues happening in their life. And there are some who will blame others except themselves. They blame their wife, they blame their children, and they take out the heat on their children. They begin to beat their wife or even beat the children. You know, the kind of beating that is for when you want to discipline children, there are age appropriate, discipline measures. For men who go to psychological distress or they are frustrated about life will beat the hell out of their children. At the end of the day, you ask yourself, see how big you are. How can you lay your hand on this little child? But they are not thinking well, they're not feeling well, and that's why they are not acting well. And then suicidal thoughts, suicidal ideation, and a good number of self-deficit behavior. And so to every man that is out there, when you go through these challenges, don't go through it alone. Seek help. It is okay not to be okay. Remember, anybody can have a mental health challenge. And I want to tell everybody out there, mental health is not sickness. Mental health is your wellness. So when you check yourself, if there are challenges and we notice on time, one can be assisted. Thank you so much for listening.
Having a mental health isn't an illness. If you notice on time, you are able to get help, and that would help you to push through effectively. Thank you so very much for those words. I think our men are taking note of it because these are things that will help you to be able to function and cope adequately in this unhealthy world that we have found ourselves. Now let's move on and begin to look at when men have psychological issues, what are the options available today? Now, for a lot of women, we have crying partner, you have gist partner, you have these and other things. What are the options available to men in our society that helps them pull through challenging and distressful times? Thank you, sir.
Women should also have a friend. We also have people that we should gist with, actually. The healthy man should also have a gist partner, someone that can also share with. Yeah, what options really are there? Quite a lot of options, really. I've said the world is moving on. It's modern. There's so many things that are coming up that we need to deal with as they come up. I think are really moving forward. So there are personal options. There are options for the community where the man functions, as well as the work environment that he is at. But first and foremost is the personal effort that we must make for ourselves. First of all, we must identify certain things within us to be able to. We must identify our strengths as and our weaknesses. they always say that you can stay 4 men, but a man is only one man. You can't do this become 4 men. So we are not all, we don't have all strength. I have strength. I also have weaknesses. We need to acknowledge this fact so that we'll be able to know how to tailor our strength in the right direction to achieve results that make us feel good and happy. Because unfortunately for some, it's this weakness that they actually use to try to overcome challenges. And of course, the more they try using weaknesses, the more the frustrations and difficulties actually achieving growth. So we need to identify our own uniqueness, our strength, and our weaknesses as well. We also need to identify our potentials. Where are we most likely actually to flourish? We all have it. We have areas where we are very good at. More or less, it's almost like being programmed to do very well in certain areas. It's not what the society expects you to do only. The society might expect me. For example, there's a joke that a parent told me that when he was younger, that his parents then said that he was going to be the first lawyer in his the first doctor rather in his village, in his community. But this person didn't have the numerical ability, can use the word, in terms of science. He's more cut out for arts-related stuff. So we must be able to identify where we are most likely, where we are more or less like a program to most likely flourish. But that man eventually, he went to the university at that time and had some difficulties and had to unfortunately leave school. It was later as an adult and as a parent that he now went to university to start that particular program as a part-time student. So we need to identify where we have potential. This will minimize the feelings of hurt, the disappointment in ourselves, sadness or depression. We also need to actually discover the right psychological resources within us. We all have psychological resources to achieve these things. Once we're able to identify where we have potential, we should also look inward and see those resources we have within us to achieve those potential. They are there. We just need for us to actually identify these resources. There could be psychological resources to do anything. Our persistence, our hard work, our caring attitude, all these are some of the resources that we have African contribute to achieve some of these potentials. We also need to learn how to use these resources very well effectively to achieve our potentials. And of course, it's also these resources that we use to overcome life challenges on the way to the goals. Because there are always challenges on the way to goals. But these resources that we have been able to identify them, we're able to know how to maneuver through various challenges of life, learn how to maneuver them, and achieve goals, and feel better. We feel more achieved, we feel more of the man that we want to be like. Although we also need to exercise. You need to really take a walk. Just move ourselves. Apart from the physical aspect, there's also the mental health benefits of exercise. It's so much. It's just a matter of just as simple as walking. Some type of walk, some type of what we are apart from our regular routine, and having some form of exercise or that. The appropriate type of exercise for the age as well as the purpose that is required for. We also need to know how to sleep. We should be able to know how to sleep, having adequate rest at the appropriate period. Is it the siesta? Is it the actual sleep at night that the brain is now the brain as well as the body are now expected to refresh and be ready for the next day work. We also some options that also have used for us for good health is also be able to know how to eat nourishing meals. The nature of man, because of the expectations that is the societal norm, and then the road that we are investing on ourselves, will make us at times to not to prioritize eating nourishing meals. We eat on the go. Most times you see men eating their lunch in their vehicles. They are driving home to work and eat. We need to find time to actually eat nourishing. Now, some of the things that they are eating may not be healthy food, may not be food that are nourishing. So we need to be able to do that. We need to be able to communicate our moods, our feelings, our thoughts effectively in an amiable manner. We have the right to do that. If you keep it inward, there will be so many other repercussions for that. So we should be able to expect some options that are available personally for us. We know that maybe waiting for anybody to, but we need to be able to understand this and do that. We also need to be able to know when to seek help, either from distant partners, either from a professional, or maybe from a work-related group that might be in place to actually achieve that. One of such group of course is the men health champion. That we remember some of the what for this year's international men's day. Actually, men's health champion. Individuals who are seen to be, who appear to have been able to achieve and play, who are also playing their roles effectively. They may be present in some organizations or in some communities. People approach some of these people for guidance, for counseling, and other things. On an intermediate level, you'll be able to provide some counseling and some advice and counseling here and there for us. If that doesn't work, we can now approach professionals, professional mental health experts, as well as professional physicians, to be able to get the right diagnosis before things get worse. Men have a tendency of delaying until the last minute. It's almost as if we are afraid to get the confirmation that there's something wrong with us that keep us down from playing our roles. It's almost as if we are afraid of hearing things like that. So we just keep going and keep going and keep going. For some people, until they drop. But we don't want to drop. We want to keep moving. We want to be able to achieve. We want to be able to do things successfully and that. Also, EAP, because the employee assistance program, are also meant for things like that. Yes, employee assistance programs are, institutionalized, can I say, department within an organization that specifically would take care of things like that. That is staff, in this case, we men staff take care of that in terms of counsel, advisory services, as well as other services that may require some physical, as well as the mental expert. So these are some of the things that we need that are some of the options that are available for man to be able to move on. Thank you.
All right, thank you so very much, sir. So it's looking like they are not handicapped. It's looking like there is a source of hope and help for as many people that will take help. From some of these places that he had listed out, you can always support by talking about your challenges. You can always get help from people around you. Just looking at the team for this year, men as champion, there are people whose shoulders we can still climb on. And I think the issue of mentoring is also very, very germane. If we would help people to begin to take their roles as champion and be able to stand even in this unhealthy world. And Canon Jeremiah is going to be, talking to us again on what are the ways to stay healthy. Yes, the world is chaotic. There's so much challenges and problems out there. But how do we stay healthy? How do we balance things out? What are those everyday tips that men can take away from this call today? Over to you.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Akitoye, and I appreciate everyone that has been listening for almost an hour now. Jamais Casio, a futurist, actually defined our world, our present world, as being Bani, B-A-N-I, which means the world is brittle, it's anxious, non-linear, and incomprehensible. But when I look at the topic for today, staying healthy in an unhealthy world, I cast my mind back to the story of creation, where the world in itself was created by orderliness through the supreme being, who now handed the world over to man. And as soon as man began to recreate, problems started. So I said in my mind, the world that was handed over to us was a good one. It is we men who began to do it whichever way we want. So men will influence the environment, and the environment will in turn influence men. That's the concept of reciprocal determinism. We've done so much damage to our world: gas flaring, the changes in climate, depletion of the ozone layer, deforestation. God created man and animals. Now terriocide is so common, even though sometimes underreported. People kill animals anyhow. Good that people are keeping pets, but how many people really do? Where trees are supposed to occupy, we've cut down everything, and we build our houses so close to one another, and the challenges are there. But to be able to stay healthy in our world, what do we need? There are certain things that are needed. Awareness is very important. Just like we are creating awareness right now, we need to begin to send out information for men and women alike to behave in a proper way and be sensitive to whatever it is that is going on around them. One thing I'd like to address here is the issue of the way we raise our boys. We need to train our boys well and focus more on them. There are lots of programs that speaks about the girl child, the girl child. How much more of those programs do we have for boys? As a father in the home, what manner of boy are you raising? The issues of absentee fathers is something that the society needs to address. We need to all go back home and take care of our children and pay attention to their developmental milestones. And then for a country like Nigeria, whatever it is that we're going through, our children are also going through it. Children go through hypo stress. And that's why sometimes they tell you they are bored. They are also responding to whatever it is that is happening in their environment. So we need to reassure them and support them. In my practice, I've seen a lot of young men and boys break down much more than even girls. So I say that to people, it's easier to train a man than to repair a broken one. So let's pay attention to the way we raise boys and not put unnecessary pressure on them. The Yorubas will say, ojú kan ló ń bímọ, ṣùgbọ́n igba ojú ló ń wò. You that you are listening to me, how are you training your child? Then we need to go back to, the way we parent, social parenting, communal parenting. If my child does anything wrong outside, I expect that you should be able to speak to it and correct your child. And for all men out there listening, we need to be intentional about our choices. Men claim to know a lot. Yes, we know. But we need to narrow the gap between the knowing and the doing. Such that even when you know you are supposed to go for a checkup, you just don't go for it. You know that you have to self-care, care for yourself. Men refuse to do it. Even the community support, when they are available, men will say they are not coming. Set up a family counseling session, a good number of them will not show up. You even be the one calling to remind them. So this kind of attitude, we need to put it behind us. If we're going to be more resilient as men, if you want to bounce back from the challenges of life, throw it back at life, throw it back at the world. Don't hide it to yourself. And that way you'll be able to adapt to a difficult world. As a man, love yourself, date yourself, take care of yourself. And then, don't give up on yourself, no matter what the situation is. And I'll give us some few tips that we can also use for those who are writing down. I know we are fast, maybe out of time. Take balanced diet and healthy meal. Fruits and vegetables, very important. I know Dr. Akin has mentioned some. Somebody recommended that you should hydrate, take between 8 to 10 glasses of water in a day, depending on your body size and your need, and the weather of where you are as well. Nigeria, very tropical. It's humid right now, so please stay hydrated. Don't wait until you are thirsty before you take your water. You may just be helping yourself. Minimum of 6 hours of sleep in a day. Some of us in Lagos, we're owing sleep debt, so that you can think very well. Practice relaxation technique, meditation, yoga. Whenever you have the opportunity to be happy, go to a place where people are happy, they are dancing, they are joyful. And that's why I appreciate, our churches and mosques, where people go to unwind and to catharsize. Please make sure you are able to do all those things. Engage in outdoor activities. Take a walk. Engage in gardening. I started gardening during COVID, and I can tell you it has helped me a lot. And I dance as well. You can look for what works for you and then do. And please get regular checkup. Somebody will say, I don't need to check. What I don't know will not kill me. Waiting man, no, they kill man. Please check so that you can be taken care of. Speak to professionals. Seek help when needed. In fact, a recent research has suggested that men will access help when the help meet their preferences, easily accessible, meaningful, and engaging. If you don't want to come physically, look for places where they offer virtual help. At least have that conversation. Then limit your social media engagement. Talk to members of your family. And for the wives that are listening, let us support our men. If you have a man in your life, care for him. We know that sometimes it can be very difficult, but Biko, take care of the man that is with you. If you take care of a man, you are taking care of the world. And if you realize that your man may need help, suggest people who can. to talk saying heavy metals of men live heavy metals. If you don't lift it appropriately, it can affect you down there. And like I say to all the young boys around me, don't let that thing in between your leg, distract you in the journey of life. As a man, stay focused, build that relationship, engage in community activities, and volunteer. It will help your mind. Practice empathy and active listening. A lot of men don't listen enough. Ask them, what are we saying? You realize that they can't even respond. Sometimes I have that issue with my wife as well. She will say, I can see that you are not talking. And sometimes when I want to listen to her, I shut down everything. Listen to your woman and let them talk to you. And for us as men, I think we need that social support. Let's continue to engage. May God help us. Thank you so much for listening. God bless you all.
Thank you so very much. There's a lot to take home today. So much to take home today. We may not be able to change the dynamism of the world in terms of making it healthy or unhealthy, but yes, like Canon said, the world that was handed over to us was a very healthy one, but man came and changed the dynamics. Yes, the total control of what happens in this world may not be in an individual's hand, but you have a right to be able to make your word beautiful. You have a right to be able to make your word perfect. And that is something very, very germane and something very beautiful that we're taking home from today. Now, everyone has the responsibility of taking care of themselves. Take care of yourself. Engage in quite a lot of activities. If you cannot win bread, please win Gary. If you cannot win Gary, win something. Just win biscuits, win granules. You can even win water. Don't let the pressure of being a breadwinner now force you to be something else, and then takes life away from you. Now you find out that a lot of people are like walking cops and they're not able to function as well as they should. Thank you so very much, Charles. Wonderful speakers on this call today. If you know someone that needs to listen, the recording would be on the YouTube page of Yaba Voice, Yaba Voice FNPHY. The UK, they can access it, and you can also share. And please, we want to say, please like and subscribe. Now, this gives us more visibility. It helps people to see what we are doing and encourages more people to be able to engage in the things that we do, and that would also help us. So thank you so very much, our speakers today. We so very much appreciate you. I'm going to take the final comment from the medical director, because as it is now, this is going to be the last webinar for the year 2024. Yes, we run back and back in the last 10 months, but this is going to be the last webinar for the year. And so, medical director, will you just give a closing remark as we go off here for the next 1 month thereabout, hopefully to see in the year 2025. Medical Director, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kemi Akitoye. I just want to appreciate all our presenters this morning or this afternoon, and also to appreciate all our participants far and near for being on this platform, and to let all the men there know that there is no health without mental health. So please safeguard your mental health. Call for help when there is need for help. Don't say you are a man, and by so doing, you'll be able to remain healthy. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you so very much, Medical Director, for the welcome. Again, we want to say thank you to the Medical Director for giving us a platform to run. Yes, we had been running, and the Medical Director has been there behind us, encouraging us all the way. Thank you so very much, Medical Director, sir. We hope that 2025 will be a lot better, and then we'll be able to do so much more for the community, for everyone who have joined us right from the beginning of this year till date. Thank you so very much once again. And to our speakers today, Mr. Aki Gabriel Kanondaramola, thank you so very much. We enjoyed your knowledge. Thank you for blessing us on this platform. Remember that you can get this recording as well as previous episode of Yaba Voice webinar on the YouTube page of Yaba Voice, Yaba Voice FNPHY. You would get the recording. Please like and subscribe. That gives us visibility, and that helps us to be able to do so much more for our community. Until we'll see again in the year 2025, please stay well, keep flourishing. Remember, there is no health without mental health. Until then, take care of yourself. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year in advance.
It should be fun, fellowship forms.